Hey, everybody, give me just a couple seconds to get adjusted here, and we will get started. And I can take care of that one too real fast. All right, everybody. This is Breaking the Cage. It is Astrology TV with the Matrix Mind Media. And this week is a powerful week, but it's not just about the full moon that took place today. No. There's so much more going on. The full moon, I'm not putting down the moon goddess in any form, but what I am saying is we are entering eclipse season, people, and that alters the whole situation, changes everything. Let me have a sip of my drink and then I'll get started. All right. Because I got my notes out here because they've had me all over writing down all kinds of stuff for what's going on right now. Now, we did just have, I think it was at like 4:50 this afternoon, we had the full moon in Aries. Now, that is a lot of times we look at the moon phases in general about release, surrendering, and let go. It's actually about purification also and cleansing so we can accept the accomplishments of what we have brought into light and we can bring the healing forward as we start to reevaluate and re-prepare for the new moon. But with eclipse season, this is going to shift everything that's going on. Now, let me back up for just a minute. Sorry, I got a little bit of a cough going on. I want to make sure that I throw out there that information that I try to throw out as I begin the show every time. And I was noticing a lot of times I'm always reminding everybody that, because it is from also the Matrix Mind Media, that Matt is always doing everything off pure donation. But remember, because I keep always talking about a swag shop too, where you can get t-shirts and stuff. You can find out all of that on the Matrix Mind website. But if you also go to the Matrix Mind's Facebook page and whatnot, he also has his Sacred Stones by Matthew. And he does do really good work on, the crystals as he's wrapping them. And he does do a pretty good amount of looking into what he's doing with those crystals and making sure that he's understanding the full understanding of those crystals, because every once in a while I've gotten even a question from him. And there's been a time or two where even I've been stumped. So, I mean, like in the idea of all of what it's good for or what it does. But he puts a lot of his heart and soul and his effort into that, even though he's really doing a lot of it on his spare and free time. He's making those necklaces and whatnot, and he's caging them up for you, out of the tender loving care of who and what he is, what his soul is. So you're getting a good piece of his love when you purchase one of them. So by all means, check out Sacred Stones by Matthew, because obviously if he's doing it, it's definitely helping him keep the Matrix Minds going and staying on the air for each and every one of you. As well as, I always tell you guys, I do my own personal readings, my mentoring / reading sessions, and I've been having them really, really cheap on sale for about $38, where I sit with you for about an hour and I let it go wherever it needs to go. We also have the astrology sessions in general, but then I also have the new moon phase workshops. And with all of this, energy that's coming in right now, with these eclipse for the eclipse season, because you're going to see major changes take place in your life, as well as just on the platform of, the three-dimensional world is going to start taking place definitely over the next month and a half. You're going to start seeing it. And a lot of that is because of the eclipse energy. Sorry, a little bit of congestion. But like I was saying, the eclipse energy takes a major shift. And what is going on? It changes or alters the moon phase. Now, I always tell everybody when we're looking at the moon phases, you have your as I would call it, you're like baby witch people who are really just, starting to come into their awakening, coming into their enlightenment, coming into working with the moon phases, the crystals, and so forth. Da, 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 da. And so they usually just follow the ideas of the original idea: release, surrender, let go, starting new growth, new cycles, so forth, depending on the moon phase. Technically, there is 8 moon phases. And this is why I'm speaking about it, because if you really understand the way it moves, it's not just as generic as this or that. It has a lot to do with what planets are where and what's talking to who and what that conversation creates in your personal life. And this is why I said when I do the the moon phase workshops, I do them directly off of your chart as what's going on directly with you. But like I said, with the eclipses, this is going to put major changes on the platform of our viewing world. So it's 3-dimensional for what we're seeing. It's also changing a lot of things that are going to be taking place in society, making a lot of things collapse and shift and start to begin new. You're going to see these things definitely taking place over the next month and a half, because your first eclipse season, or the first eclipse, is a partial solar eclipse, but it's going to take place, I think it's on like the 23rd of the month, right before Samhain or Halloween. And it's going to take place, the moon and the sun are both going to be in Scorpio. The South Node's in Scorpio. And so right there is saying a lot. And we'll get into that more as I'm getting into the actual reading and the astrology for the week. But I'm helping you to see this full moon was bringing illumination, might be hitting beneath the belt. This full moon in Aries. Aries is a beginning point. Aries is the starter of the zodiac signs. But the problem with Aries, and every sign has a problem, okay? So I'm not just picking on Aries. There's good and bad with every single sign. Aries is ready to start something new. They're all about being the first, being the alpha, being the ready to start. But the problem is, I want what I want, and I want it right now. And then, and then they take off onto a new thing. Because if it doesn't happen fast enough, they move on. They move on to something else. And then what they could have created, because they didn't slow down and take the time and the effort, is lost. And this is an important part right now. Remember, Jupiter is in retrograde in Aries. So is Chiron in Aries, the wounded healer and the higher self, ultimately, with all your higher knowledge, is definitely inward thinking in the beginning, in the alpha energy, the alpha and the beta. And I'm saying this because I believe at the end of the month, like right after that eclipse, Jupiter is going to dart back into Pisces. And this is why I want you to hear this. Pisces is the universal 12th house, the alpha and the beta, the beginning, the end. So you're going beginning and beginning. We are definitely taking a true purification, true illumination, and you're getting the whammy of, and it's coming in before this eclipse. So I'm giving you the energy. Plus, their second eclipse is actually going to be in the full moon next month in November, while you'll still have Jupiter in Pisces, and that eclipse will be in Taurus. So you're looking at a lot of outer world, society, relationships, and self-esteem, self-value, self-esteem, self-value, self-worth, manifestation, like a manifestation is coming in big time. And I cannot remind you guys enough, law of attraction has everything to do with manifestation. The second house, which is also Taurus, has everything to do with, and I'm saying it because I'm looking into the month ahead here. Taurus is where it's going to end, with that self-worth, self-value, self-esteem, independence, individuality, uniqueness, freedom, the possession of yourself, redemption, people. is what this is all bringing you into. The illumination that will lead you to the redemption, or honestly, while you're going through this redemption, if you're doing your soul work, you're going to see a great big dose of arrogantly manipulative entitlement with a fresh cut of hot, stinky ass. I'm sorry, but that's what you're going to see from a lot of these people. Because how many times have I told you all that when somebody is trying to get in their power, there's a big difference from trying to get in their power, reclaim it, haven't reached that redemption yet of their own soul fire, versus someone who's trying to reclaim it and you still feel like a lion in a cage. When you get manipulative, when you get arrogant, when you get pushed to shove. So I said, a hot, fresh ass with a little bit, with a whole dose of arrogantly manipulative entitlement. That is what you're going to get when you're dealing with those who are not in their power, of a lower vibrational frequency. Because if you're coming into your personal soul redemption and reclaiming that power, how many times I gotta keep telling you guys I love you all? But it's just like the movie The Matrix, the first one. At the end, when you're in your power, you realize I don't have to dodge those bullets. I can just say no. And this is where we're leading you. This is what we're trying to lead you through as we come into these eclipses. Spirit is reminding me it's a Hebrew. It's actually one of the Hebrew alphabet letters. But what's important is the saying here. Every single day, because of the manifestation and how quick it's coming right now, it's important for you to realize every single day it is a choice. And every single day you are choosing if it is the reward or if it is the punishment. Like I said, we are looking at the harvesting of the energies of what we've been feeling through this full moon in Aries. We are looking at the purification of the higher knowledge and higher soul self, versus are we dealing with the ego and where it's not getting through. The Chiron and the wounded healer of where we're not resurrecting and coming clean with ourselves so that we can truly get back into our fire, into our creation. We're viewing inwardly over the next 3 weeks. Our inventory of our life, of our outer world, of how it is that we are viewing our goals, what we are grateful for, what it is that we are setting our intentions to, and what is the motivation behind why we are setting these intentions this way. Getting deep and raw with this. Because like I said, that Jupiter is going to be traveling back into that 12th house. So it's alpha, beta. It's the beginning and the end and the beginning again. So, and anytime you have eclipses, it's kind of like a kick in the gut of going, this is all the shadow work you've been working on. This is all the work you've been seeing through for the last 6 months. But let me hit you with the whammy of where you've been in denial, where you've missed it. This is the key points to actually making sure that it is a new beginning, a new resurrection. All right. And like I said, it's going to be taking place with the South Node in Scorpio, the 7th house. Well, it's the 8th house. It's the rules, the laws, the boundaries of the relationships. If it's actually something that can be like the lotus flower, can it grow out of the swamp and still find the light and have its spiritual essence, its spiritual growth to become the beautiful thing that it always was? Are you going to get stopped in the swamp and not actually, come up and out of it and find the light that is there and within inside of you? Now, before I get into the blueprint and before I get into the astrology that I'm seeing for this specific week, because I want to make sure I'm setting you guys on the right direction. Spirit was giving me runes to help give you the idea of the energies of what to see and comprehend, acknowledge in that inventory that you're doing inwardly about your outer world. And they're giving me 2 runes to help you use as a background, as a place of origin to work from. That was their words, a place of origin to work from. This is basically, we're taking you back to the starting board. We're clearing the slate, clearing the slate so that we can really build what we're trying to build. And the first one they give me, and I'm not going to get into the Norse mythology or everything about the runes. I'm just going to give you the main concept of what you need, because I am doing the show. It is live, and I'll be here forever if I get into more than that. Tawaz is the first one that they're giving me. And this speaks to us about social order. Like I said, it's not just your life, not just your relationships, and the relationships that it's not just your relationships, the rules, the walls, the boundaries in these relationships, and if they're safe, healthy, and able to serve you well. But we're looking at the outer world, and this is your groups, your memberships, which you're part of. And if this is ultimately working towards serving you or manipulating you, in honesty. So we're looking at, with Tawaz, social order, objective justice. We are looking at the order of existence in which all things belong. Loyalty. Social discipline leads to spiritual and self-discipline. It points to matters of adherence to the principle in what it is you are creating. Method, precision, and a seasoned approach. So this is saying it's time for you to pull out your spiritual maturity and really start tapping into it. Get deep within that soul self and really pay attention here, because like I said, manifestation is coming in and you're getting hit with things that are below the belt and going to make you question in some of these areas. And you don't want it. You don't want to have to take 5 steps back to turn around and have to take 9 steps forward. I'm trying to make sure you're on the right track. All right. The next thing that I'm given from Spirit is also a rune, and it's Jebo. And it is the gifting price. It is the exchange of fire. Now remember, fire is passion, action, aggression. It is your children, your family. They are of your fire. They are of your essence, of your soul fire. It is the exchange of that passion, whether it's good or bad. It is the gifting price and the exchange of the fire. It asks you to focus on hospitality. It asks you to focus on understanding the gift and its obligations. Now, let me stop right there. The gift is life. The gift is the opportunity. Again, taking me back to where they said in the beginning, every day is a choice, whether it is a reward or a punishment. The gift and its obligations has a lot to do with your manifestation. It is understanding that is what is given is also received in some form. For many, that would be that threefold, the threefold pulling in its energy. It is the exchange of the cycle of energy and what you're putting out. It is honoring the contracts, honoring one's own word, receiving what you are receiving gracefully. And like I said, is it a punishment or a reward? You're choosing every day what your gift is and the obligations you're putting behind it. Then apply that to the Tawaz, the social order, the social discipline that leads to spiritual and soulful discipline, that leads to, your methods, your precision, and your seasoned, mature spiritual approach to how and what you're manifesting. So slow down and allow that inward higher knowledge. Jupiter is still in Aries, even though he's in retrograde, and Chiron is still in Aries. This is part of what you are getting with this full moon. That purification of the illumination to find thy soul self and set it back on fire. All right? So getting you back to that spiritual maturity and being able to reclaim your power and create your own reality because you're actually understanding how to create it. Now, as I move forward, I'm going to get into the blueprint. And some people don't understand when I speak about the blueprint, so I always try to break this down a little bit more. Let me have a sip of my drink. I forgot to say something also before I get into the blueprint. For any of you who are watching the show tonight, or within the next 24 hours too, I am going to be on the show with Matt on the Matrix Minds tomorrow night. I forgot all about it until just now. So some people have been asking to have me back on. And I was mentioning to Matt, because let's face it, it is Halloween or Samhain. I was like, you know, it is that time of year. You're going to do any of that kind of stuff. So he's bringing me back in tomorrow. We're going to talk on Monday night. It's going to be at 10 o'clock live. Then I'm going to be on the show, and it's going to be a lot of Q&A. So there will be open lines. So we'll have a lot of just picking my brain, picking Matt's brain, and going from there, as well as sharing some stories. So I wanted to let you guys know, if you do follow me and you are interested, tune in tomorrow, because I'll also be on the show with Matt. Now, as I get into the blueprint, as the blueprint is, you have to understand that everything, like they say, as above, so below, that is part of you. What is part of the cosmos is part of you. The astrological energies that are on your chart, and when we go through the chart energy, that is one form in those houses, but that is also part of you, depending on where your planets are in the body. Because Aries would be the head, Taurus would be the throat, and then we just keep moving all the way down till we get to Pisces at the feet. This is part of the blueprint. Everybody is running on a program as a human being, but then you have programs inside of the program. This would be your planetary energy inside of the body. When we get into a personal blueprint, which I do personal blueprints, I can get into helping you understand illnesses that you can stop yourself from creating, or realize where you have created and start to reverse it by understanding part of that soulful blueprint that changes your vibrational energy and helps you to upgrade. But on the now, when I do the show, I'm doing the universal blueprint according to where the planetary energies are and what that is talking to about us in our chakras and with our actual body and organs, and what that may be, showing us where we're having blockages and so forth. And then I get into the regular astrology. So the blueprint is reminding us with this energy that I've been speaking of and what we're going to be seeing over this next month. The blueprint, what Spirit is giving me before I get into the individual pieces of it, is understand, for one, the sun, no matter what you are, no matter what sign you are, the sun also represents the heart and the spine in the body. Whether you're a Leo, whether you're a Gemini, whatever, the sun represents the heart and the spine. This has a lot to do with that spinal cord energy and how I'm always talking about the zeal point in the back of the neck, which opens you up for higher vibrations or lowers you for psychic attack. And it directly deals with the spinal column and up and down the chakras and what it's gonna direct your manifestation into. Now, the sun always deals with the spine and always deals with the heart, which means it is a life force energy. And what they're saying is, you must understand whatever you're dealing with in your first and foremost, the heart continuing to pump and work, and the messages that are being sent up and down the spine, is your first and foremost life force energy. And whatever you are manifesting in life has a lot to do with that life force energy. and the communication that it is sending through the physical body, because that has a lot to do with the vibration in which you are carrying. When you understand this, it speaks to you about how you are viewing the world, seeing it, hearing it, feeling it, acknowledging it, bringing it back to your ability to create and bring in the manifestation. So your sun has a lot to do with this. Now, as I'm going through this, you'll start to understand why I said that. Jupiter is in Aries. Jupiter is in the midbrain. And this is having a lot to do more or less with the frontal lobe and the connection of all of the lobes up here, and how you are dealing with your problem solving, how you are dealing with your viewing, your identification, seeing the world, how it is you're thinking and you're putting your mind into action and how it's going to work for you. Okay. It is speaking directly with Chiron, which is the frontal lobe itself, the problem solving energy. And this is part of how you view the world. And you're sending that energy directly to the zeal point, because the zeal point works from the lobe that's right here in the back of your head. It's the occipital lobe, and it directly sends those messages through the spinal cord. It is directly speaking to all of this third eye energy. And are you putting it into third eye, or are you speaking from a lower dimensional, how you view the world around you? It is a choice to be part of the punishment or part of the reward, and how you're viewing it and choosing to, breathe that into reality. This has a lot to do with how your body actually functions, because we just came out of Mercury retrograde, and Mercury is also part of the brain. It's still in shadow. Okay, so the brain itself, which also has to do with Mercury, is dealing with the Chiron retrograde and the Jupiter retrograde, getting into your negative thinking. Jupiter also specifically deals with the kidneys, the liver, and the digestive system. All of this is coming down to how are we viewing our life? What are we manifestation? And are we removing the waste that does not serve us? Quite literally. Are we taking it from the top and we're taking it right on out of the body? Are we doing a clean slate? You get into Uranus, which Spirit is saying, this is your highest level of growth right now, because they're giving it to me all in bright orange, but they're giving it to me in a very tacky forest orange, which has a lot to do with blame, bitterness, betrayal, and holding on to energies. This is in the throat. This is the actual vocal cords and the lymph nodes in the throat, and what you are speaking. It is part of that zeal point, part of the throat chakra. Okay, and what is it that you're speaking, or what is it that you're not speaking? But they are showing me where people are holding on to more of that, and they just put that in my mouth, more of the vindictiveness. Like I said in the beginning, manipulative entitlement is coming out, because they're holding on. For a lot of people who are not in their power, they're being very inflexible. They're trying to communicate and take action, but they're not truly trusting in the soul self, and it's more of just spewing out some disappointment of where they've been harmed, and understanding what you're getting from people, and or if you are speaking in that throat chakra, because the throat chakra is not just about speaking, it's about what you hear. Okay, so this is saying right now that what we're hearing may have more to do with what we're seeing. You may see one action and hear another. Pay very close attention to this. Because the vocal cords have a lot to do with this. Mars is your inner warrior. It's your passion, your action, your aggression, your fire. But there's two kinds of warriors. There's the warrior that runs all in and is ready to attack. And then there's the wise warrior. The one that has the wisdom, that's been around and fought many battles. And I'm saying it to you this way because the Mars energy is in Gemini, which is directly also dealing with the heart, but it's directly on the spine. We're talking about your life force energy here. of the energies that are going up and down, the manifestation that is going up and down, according to what you are allowing that Mars to speak to, see and hear, speak, throat chakra, and then what's going on? Where are you going to be, consuming it in the gut? Mars right now is on the spine, and it is definitely coming into a life force energy as to is it being done properly, positively, and then on a three-dimensional level, are you doing it from that I said no is the Matrix, and I don't have to dodge your bullets, or is it coming from the energy of I'm gonna attack and then ask questions later? Understand who and what you're dealing with as well as yourselves. Lilith and Pallas. Pallas is also Athena, the warrior goddess. We're talking about literally strategic thinking over this month. We're talking about not giving your soul away, not giving yourself away, not being so. Lilith in Cancer, I have said over and over again for the last 2 months, she is not strong here. Normally where she is, a little bit vain, a little bit egotistical, but she's able to go, no, see, wait a minute, I wasn't put here for you. I was put here because I have my own reasons. I was put here for my own tasks. But see, in Cancer, she's very mothering. She's very nurturing, and she gives and she gives and she gives and she gives herself away. This is do not lose your dignity right now. This is all about your self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. This is all about how you identify with yourself, because how you identify with yourself has a lot to do with your manifestation as well. Lilith here in Cancer is so mothering. She's giving more attention and love and nurturing to everybody but herself. You have Pallas, Athena, the warrior goddess, scooping up in here behind her, going, no. We got to have some strategic thinking going on here. I'm not going to win a war if there's not even any self-love. It's not about being narcissistic. It's about making sure that you're standing your ground and that you love yourself enough to stand your ground without being wigged out that you're going to be knocked down. This energy is literally on the pancreas and the abdomen. We're getting into the digestion. And what are you consuming? Are you consuming all the energy of everybody else? Empaths, that's what you do. You're not just feeling your energy, you're feeling everybody else's. This is why you give so much of yourself, because you feel the pain of others. But when you just cater and cater and cater, all you're doing is eating that into you. You're consuming it, and you're not digesting it. You're just consuming it like a sponge that's getting full. And if you don't ever drain a sponge, it can't continue to wipe up anything. This is what we're talking about. Make sure that you're pampering yourself right now, that you're loving yourself right now, because you're not going to love anybody else well if you can't first acknowledge where you have to love and care for yourself. And I'll be the first one to admit, I even have problems with that. I have to remind myself, no, I need some me time. And I take care of, y'all have heard me, I take care of my my 80-year-old mom. And even I have to have days where I'm like, woman, the answer is no. I need some me time. I mean, that woman would have me change the TV channel for her and do absolutely everything if I don't make her do some things for herself. Plus, on a spiritual level, a soulful level, she needs to be still active. Otherwise, I mean, they say, a body in motion stays in motion. You cater to people too much. If you cater to people too much and you do everything for them, you're not helping them to grow and succeed. In the way of my mom, I got to make sure she still stays moving and has action. Sometimes you have to remember to love you because you give away too much of yourself. Ceres is the threefold. She is speaking to you about nurturing yourself or neglecting yourself. And quite literally, guys, you'll know how well, I'm sorry, but this is the way it's going. You'll know how well you're unblocking what is going on and flushing out the waste, because seriously, Cirrus is all about nurturing yourself or neglecting yourself. And are you getting backed up, or are you in the bathroom a little too much? Because I'm being honest, it is sitting right on the colon and the rectum. So we're talking about literally removing the waste or blocking it. Your body is telling you if you're being good to it. You just have to know how to understand it. Mercury, the sun, and Venus are all in the 7th house, Libra, and they're literally sitting on the kidneys. This is your sacral chakra. And I can't say enough times, the sacral chakra also deals with your inner warrior. It deals with your relationships. It deals with your inner sexuality. And sexuality is not just about sex. Sexuality is about how you feel about yourself. Do you feel good when you look in the mirror? Are you like, yeah, I like myself today? Or are you like, ugh? If you don't feel confident, you're never going to have the warrior take place. You're never going to stand up for yourself. This is about rebuilding the foundation. This is about realizing where the foundation is rocky in these relationships and nurturing what is salvageable, or continuing in a level of being able to continue to grow or not. We're talking about like I said, your kidneys, your lower back is going to tell you how you honestly feel about the relationships or your status within the relationships, even if you won't tell yourself. Because y'all know what it is to have kidney stones or to have the kidneys start up. And you know when your sacral chakra is acting. And if your sacral chakra is acting up, there's most likely definitely problems with your root, your foundation, as well as your solar plexus. And it will be coming from there with a pain in the back. Now, you have the South Node, which is literally, I can't make this stuff up. It's literally sitting on your sexual organs of birthing. For both men and women, what it takes, those personal body parts of being able to plant the seed. This is the time to acknowledge what seeds need to be planted. And I'm not talking sexually. I'm talking about spiritually, soulfully in your life. The South Node is everything that you're good at, but you've gotten comfortable with it, where you're not growing. It's the rules, the walls, the boundaries. It's the resurrection or the rebirth of relationships into something new, the creating of something new, or the comfort zone that moves you nowhere because it keeps you stagnant. Now, let me remind you also, you have Pluto that's going direct. It's no longer going to be in retrograde. It is direct. It will still be in shadow for a while. And shadow energies, people forget because they only want to talk, especially about Mercury retrograde. You've had like every planet in retrograde, okay? You have Mercury that is no longer in retrograde. It's still in shadow. It's about to finish and really, truly be direct. It's moving into Libra, I believe, this week. And then you also have Pluto that just went direct. It may have gone tomorrow, but I believe it was today. And it's going direct as well. Pluto is that soul fire. It's the soul fire that you're afraid of. It's a part of yourself that you're scared of. It's the part of yourself you've forgotten that is. And I say this all the time because it's the way Spirit put it to me. Though I walk through the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. There is no part of the soul that is not pure. Even if we have to deal with our ego parts, that is more negative. But that's how we clean ourselves. This is how we raise in vibration. It's the part of ourselves that we haven't reclaimed because, I've never really seen that part of me before. It's where I'm always saying the muchierness is. The muchierness that, is the oomph. The oomph of everything that makes you you, the best parts of you. And so what? And what is it that, I'm going to shine as bright as I can and be the best me that I can be. And I'm going to enjoy what makes me happy. I'm going to enjoy being me. And if somebody else can't enjoy that and I'm shining too bright, well, I don't care. They can put on sunglasses, not my problem. Your muchierness. Don't ever hide your muchierness, but you got to locate the pieces of it that you don't realize you have. This is Pluto going direct. Pluto's no longer in retrograde, so he's now allowing you to bring that into the outer world in a more, let's get back on track. Let's start to flow more with the flow here. When Jupiter was in retrograde, it was more of like the kick to the gut of, I said now. So now he's slowing down and giving you a chance to start to feel and breathe and commune with that muchierness. Though I walk through the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, because there is no evil that I have to fear. Nothing but fear itself. Pluto is in the knees. Now, what 90% of everybody out there on the mainstream, they just want to talk about your 7 main chakras. Your knees are a chakra of what I call is the lower vibrational energies. It's the consciencelessness. It's our ego energies. And the knees, when they start getting jacked up, remember the knees are holding a responsibility for everything for your upper part of the body. It's like the spring of the body that allows the flexibility to move, that allows you to walk, to be able to move those legs around like so. It has a lot of weight it carries. And when it carries weight, it's carrying the negativity when we think of it from an emotional standpoint. So are we looking at it from the Capricorn energy? Because that's what the knees are, Capricorn energy, with Pluto being here, going direct, allowing us to come back into our muchierness with a more flowing way. But if you're having problems tapping into it, it's going to be dealing with areas of jealousy, areas of inadequacy, of inferiority. It can be very combative. It's where we have problems actually finding hope. It's where we're pulled into the negative. We get hopeless in this area, and then we start coveting everything because we're afraid to have it taken away. So this is speaking of, are you looking at things from that egotistical point of view? Are your knees getting, to where they're also, you're having a pain in them, or they're having, where they shake or they get locked up or causing problems? This is your body speaking to you about this chakra where you're holding on to these energies. When we get into Saturn at the end of the month, because you're coming up to where it's about to go direct, where it's in the Aquarius energy, and it is directly dealing with greed, the energies of push and shove, very materialistic, 3-dimensional of what I need, see, feel, touch. I need it. Where we become very selfish, where we're holding on to anger because of what we fear. It is where we get to where we don't care about anybody else. It's all number one. I have to care about number one. And guess what? It's a dog-eat-dog world. You're talking about Saturn, rules, walls, and boundaries. Like I said, for some of these people, you're going to be seeing very arrogantly manipulative energy coming out, entitlement coming out, push and shove, dog eat dog. You're talking about the egos, lower vibrations of these chakras. Why do you think you were always told to bless your feet? Because every place your feet takes you, your feet are ultimately responsible for that. And speaking of that, that's still where your Neptune is. Your Neptune is in retrograde. It is speaking to you, Neptune, of, are you creating magic of new, healthy, brand new beginnings, and you're bringing the healing? Or are you in the chakra of the Neptune energy that's recreating from revenge, from malice, from the lack of a conscience, from destructive blindfulness, inner blindfulness, denial, hatred, and torture? There's a reason why the lower part of the leg deals with the ego chakras. And I say this all the time because everybody who hears mainstream wants to start with your root chakra. And let's work on cleaning the root chakra out over and over again. And we'll start, making sure the root chakra is in alignment and doing all of that stuff. If you're not working on the leg chakras and the ego chakras, you're wasting your time, because all of that energies that you're ignoring is going to sift up into that root chakra and into the other chakras. This is why they said from the beginning, if you really go back and pay attention, you were taught it, you have to bless your feet. Neptune is magic. It's to be able to do anything. Pisces is the mysterious, spiritual, I love everything. But when it's on its negative side, we're looking at the egos, we're looking at the jealousy, we're looking at the malice energies, and where we're holding on to them, and where we're not blessing ourselves because of our questions, our doubts, our fears. And when your ankles and your knees and your calves and your feet start acting up, this is your butt, or you stub your foot, you're going too fast because you're in the three-dimensional world, not in your soulful energy. It's your body's way of trying to communicate, whoa, this is what we're doing wrong. It's trying to tell you where you're blocking yourself and you're creating the self-sabotage. Whoa, I kicked my thing. Now, as we get into the actual astrology, we have a grand trine going on all week. This is a very good thing, but it can also be a little too much in our power, a little too much of, well, I can do anything. And maybe you can, because we do create our own reality. But there's always an action for a reaction for an action. And this is part of the lesson here. Positivity is going on with trines. Opportunity is coming with trines. Being able to feel good and move in positive ways in our life and start to make the changes. But are we doing it right? Do we jump the gun and kind of maybe miss the mark, which might mess everything up and throw you a loop that goes, well, you kind of overdid it. Now you still have to take a couple steps back. And what I mean by that is you have Saturn, which is still in retrograde in Aquarius. It's the 11th house on a universal scale. So this is your goals, your dreams, your ambitions. But it is the groups, the memberships, and the committees that you are part of. Saturn is rules, walls, boundaries, restriction, denial. And, where you're allowed to walk through the door, where you're allowed, where you're not. It is speaking directly with the Sun and Venus in that 7th house of the relationships, which then is speaking with Mars in the communication of Gemini. Gemini is all about up close and personal. What is up close and personal in these relationships? And are you actually digging in? No fake shit. No fake shit. Are you really getting in deep, raw with what is up close and personal? Because if you're not, there's not growth. In order for growth to happen, you have to be out of your comfort zone. But it is dealing with Saturn, which means shifting rules, walls, and boundaries in the outer world. So goals, dreams, and ambitions can come into play. So they're not, remember, when you're with the right groups, committees, and memberships, you're with the right soul tribe, they want to see you grow. But they also plan on making sure they are going to grow too. It's a fair balance. But when you have somebody who's manipulating you, I like to use this as an example. Working environments. You have a boss way up here who puts the stuff down on this boss. And then this boss doesn't want to do this or has too much on their plate. They put it down on this boss. And then before you know it, it's come all the way down to the little man. And the little man's responsible for everything. While the big boss, or a couple big bosses, it's the weekend. They're out on their boat. They're enjoying their life. But who had to suffer? The little man. This is about pushing that shit, as one of my old bosses used to say to me, shit rolls downhill. Well, I will push that shit right back up the hill. Goals, dreams, ambitions are created by making sure we have the right committees, groups, memberships, soul tribes. If you're being manipulated or you feel it, are you being raw? Are you being able to speak this? This is your relationships. This is your life. This is a relationship you have with your life as well as others. The sun is illuminating everything in the relationship zone to if it's good or bad and why. Venus is doing the same thing. Venus is not about love. Venus is sensitivities. She is the ebb and flow of the water. She speaks to you about your emotions. I say a million times, if you have your hand in an oven trying to pull out cookies because it's been cooking at 350 degrees, but you don't have an oven mitt on, you're going to burn the shit out of your hand. And when you get burned, that's Venus going, ow, I told you not to do this to me. Every time you get taken advantage of, every time you get bullied, every time that somebody does you wrong or just does you ugly, and the pain, the lies, that is Venus telling you, you opened yourself up for this and this hurts and we don't like this. So let's not be part of this. Venus tells you what is good for you and what's not. What you want more of and what you want less of. The sun is illuminating what Venus is feeling in the relationship zone. And if the relationships are good or not. And if they're salvageable or not. Then speaking to Mars, giving you the opportunity, if you can speak and if you can hear what is actually being said. And then applying the proper rules, laws, and boundaries with the ability of thinking it out to try new things. The opportunity's there, but will you blow it because you blow your top with that entitlement, that arrogance? Or are you going to be wise about this and work it out with that spiritual soulfulness? We're trying to clean the slate and rebirth. Like I said, eclipses are hard, man. You have sextiles that are going on. Sextiles are opportunities, okay? You have Saturn, which is speaking directly with Chiron. Saturn's in that 11th house, the groups, the memberships, the committees you're part of. And it's speaking to Chiron in the 1st house by knowing yourself first, knowing where you keep not healing, where you keep not identifying your truth, where you keep, not identifying with what it is doing to your actual physical body. See, because the 1st house, Chiron and Jupiter are here, that higher knowledge, a place to start new, but it is also your personality, your appearance, how you view the world. It is your character. So this is speaking about who and what you are in these groups and memberships. And are you seeing the truth? Period. It is a sextile, meaning if you are seeing your truth, then stay in your truth. But acknowledge where the truth is showing you things you don't want to see, because it is giving you the opportunity to make the changes now. You have Pluto, which is speaking directly with Neptune and with Jupiter. This is the beginning and the end. Jupiter is the beginning in Aries. It is Pluto showing you where your muchierness needs to start to realize that character of who and what you are and show the world what it is. But first, by understanding where you're not tapping into it, where that part of you is a little afraid to show your true identity. You can only breathe life into your muchierness, into you, if you're breathing life into it by healing where you haven't. You also have Neptune, which is sextiling the North Node and Uranus. That's your magic, your ability to create and begin again by understanding the grief, sorrow, shame, blame, what we've hold on to, our self-sabotage, realizing where it takes place, putting that to an end, breathing that our muchiness forward, and then speaking to our self-worth, our self-value, our self-esteem. In Taurus, our independence, our individuality, our uniqueness, our freedom. Are you going to believe in your soul fire? Are you going to step into it now? You ready? You also have it specifically trining Lilith in the 4th house. It's showing you where and how to nurture yourself by where and how you've neglected yourself. You can never lose your soul. You can never lose your muchierness. You can never lose pieces of you that you don't even know. You could call it back to you at any given time. But you have to believe that it's able to come back. You have to believe in being able to breathe it into showing yourself just how gloriously beautiful you are and how unique you are. Because if you can't believe in you, then you're not going to breathe it into existence. You're going to stay in the stagnant comfortability of the uncomfortability. Now, we have some major challenges going on this week. It's like T square after T square after T square. And T squares are, I call them challenges, but what it really is it's over and over again, different T squares of where these energies are really fighting. They're not getting along. And the problem I like to put it is they want to come to a happy agreement, but they can't figure out how to agree on anything. So this is also a part of what's going on inside of you. And understanding these 4 T squares, these challenges, will help you, sift through your truth. You have Saturn, which is not getting along with the North Node, or Uranus, which is also not getting along with the South Node. Your independence, your individuality, your uniqueness, your freedom, your muchierness, your law of attraction. Remember, how you feel about yourself is what you will manifest. If you don't feel good about yourself, you're looking in that mirror going, well, then your life's going to be, Every day is a reward or a punishment. You choose. You are sending the signals through your chakras, and you are making that happen. It's time to take responsibility for what we're making happen, and where we don't like it, change it. The South Node is going, I don't want to. The South Node is going, I'm really good at doing it this way, and this is what I know, so this is what's safe. It may not be what's good. It may not be even what I want, but this is safe. Versus, again, that Saturn. Taking chances. Believing in yourself. But sometimes taking chances is scary because you're getting out of the safety zone. And you're tapping into your true individuality, your uniqueness, your muchierness, and breathing light into it. So this is a good thing if you can believe. Pluto, again, part of that muchierness, the depths of your soulfulness, is not getting along with the Sun or Venus in that 7th house. So your outer world is showing you where your relationships are then questioning your inner emotional security. Where are you keep giving your power away? Where do you love everybody else and want to be so good to everybody else that you don't realize you're not good to you? Where are you on the back burner? You deserve to be front and center just like everybody else. Nobody should be better than you. Nobody should be behind you. We should all be standing next to each other, holding hands. We're supposed to be a tribe on this planet, helping each other move forward, patting each other on the back. Nobody is in front of you and nobody is in back of you. So stop putting yourself on the back burner. You deserve it. You are worthy and you are valuable. But you have to acknowledge where you are having a problem with your value. And you put everybody else first. You have Jupiter speaking with Mercury and Mars. This is the 7th house, the 1st house, and the 3rd house. Your communication within the relationships and your character. Do you like who you are in these relationships? And I mean, literally, do you like the person you're showing the world in these relationships that you are? Are you showing your true depths of you? Are you stepping into your muchierness, or is it on reserve? I'm only letting so much of you in. So are you actually communicating your truth? Are you communicating what is up close and personal and important in these relationships? Remember, Mercury is the way your brain thinks, and it is also sending that information directly to that occipital lobe, going straight down the spinal cord, sending out the messages. So we're talking about your higher or lower vibration. It all depends on if you're the reward or if you're the punishment. It's not how you see the world. Are you the reward or are you the punishment? Because that is the life you're breathing into reality. And if you don't like the life you have, what is it we have to start looking at to change it? What is it that's gotten you? I say all the time, when you were a child, you had that mature-ness. When you were a child, you were ready to take on the world. When you were a child, you would play make-believe, and the world was freaking awesome. But as we grew up, we got stuck with responsibilities, one piece of weight on our shoulder after another piece of weight after another, and before we knew it, we were just sucked into this life, working hard every single day, just trying to get by. What do you have to do to say, I'm not putting up with that anymore? I'm going to start with this one action. Can you find anything that makes you happy? Playfulness. It's just fun. You have to learn to allow to start bringing that back. Because if you can't find a way to get out of the punishment, because this is the way your head's programmed. This is, like I said, you got to train your brain, guys. You got to get out of the punishment if you're ever going to be the reward. Little steps will eventually turn into big steps. And if you have to, I'm here for sessions to help you, along the way. You have Chiron, which is not getting along with the sun or Venus. Again, this is your character, the wounded healer, where you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. Speaking with Pallas, Athena, the warrior goddess, and Lilith. Where do you keep giving away everything to everybody else because you don't think you're worth it? If you don't think you're worth it, well, you won't be, and nobody else will see you that way. And we got to change this. We have to rebuild our root, our foundation, and get back into our muchierness. And then last, you have Mars in the 3rd house, up close and personal, communication, and it's not getting along with Neptune. There's a lot of doubt. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of, I'm trying to keep you in your comfort zone, even though everything about your comfort zone is uncomfortable and not what you want, because it takes courage to illuminate. That's it. It takes courage to illuminate. And the only thing you have to fear is fear itself. You are so much more than a 3-dimensional individual. You are a creator. You're a soul fire. You're more than just this. You've got to get out of that 3-dimensional thinking and into your bigger soulfulness. Get back to your muchierness. Get back to your fun. Create. Start with just silly, goofy, funny things and keep going. You have to be the reward, not the punishment. And if you're the punishment, you got to get your mind out of that, because we're really going to see a lot of changes take place between now and like the first 2 weeks of November. I'm just trying to get you in the right directions, love. I will see you tomorrow on the Matrix Minds if you tune in. Otherwise, I will see you next week. And for those of you, I know I had been doing the home light security readings, but it's just been one thing after another, and I have not been able to keep up. The home light security readings is individual readings for the month for each sign. And I'm saying that because, no, I don't have time this month. It's just been one thing after another, and I will try my best to get back on that next month. I was trying so hard to get on it this month, and I'm already getting too far behind. So I love you. And like I said, I've started the workshops. If you need any help, you can always send me a message. And if I can help you on your path, I will. I love you. Bye.